Okay, so welcome back to the second part of actually registering our user, inserting the data into the database. Hopefully this is going to be relatively short, as we explained a lot in the last part. So the query that we're writing now needs to be insert into. We need to specify the table we're inserting into, and that's users. Now remember, I gave an example of this query in the last part of the tutorial, and in here we need to specify the fields, and we already know them. We've echoed them out and we know that they are just here. Okay, that's they exploded data. And then in here we need to say values, and then there'll be the values, so like that, again in brackets here. And that's just about it. That's done. So let's just go ahead and test this by echoing this out and then killing the script here. So now when I refresh, undefined variable values, let's just check. Sorry, that should be data. And let's go ahead and refresh. Okay, so this is our query now. Insert into users, username, password, first name, last name, email, values, Billy, which relates to the username, this which relates to the password, this which relates to the first name, Garrett which relates to the last name, and that which relates to the email. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste this into our SQL tab here. So at the moment we've got one user. SQL, I paste this in. This is what's going to be executed within PHP, remember. Click go, and one row inserted. So we've now got a new user in the database. Remember, with the active status set to 0. But let's go ahead and delete that and do this now within PHP. So let's go ahead and get rid of this line. This now will actually query the database, and it will create this new user. And that's it. That's all we need to do from that part. So we can leave that function as it is. So in register now, we want to register the user, redirect somewhere, and exit. So we're going to deal with the redirect in a moment, and then exit will just be this. So that's relatively straightforward, done and dusted. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually test this now. We'll go ahead and fill the form out again. I'm going to choose a username. I'm going to choose a password, which is just going to be password. First name, Billy. Last name, Garrett. And email address will be billy@phpacademy.org. Click register. Notice undefined variable values. Now what's gone on here? Let's just check. Sorry, again, that needs to be data. I think I just reverted that somehow. So refresh, continue, done. Nothing's showing up. If we look inside of our database, you now see that this record here has been added. Okay, so perfect. We've done what we wanted to do. We've actually registered a user. We can't log in because this active status is set to 0, but we can, you can go ahead and just edit and manually change that and try and log in with that user. So now, obviously, after we've registered a user, we want to show them a nice message to say that they've been registered. So let's go ahead and do that now. We want to redirect the user now, so I'm going to use the header function, and I'm going to say location, register.php, and then I'm going to say success. So I'm sending a variable, a get variable success to this page. So what I can do now is I can just up here I can say if is set $_get success and empty $_get success. Now this isn't necessary to say and empty, but essentially what we're looking for here is whether this is on the end of a URL. We're saying if it's set. Then we want to we could just echo you've escaped that, been registered successfully. There we are, and we're done. I could then just say else, do all this, and indent that there. Okay, so now we've got if this isn't set, we just go ahead and do the normal flow of the application. Otherwise, when we direct the user once we've registered, we show this message to them. So let's go back to the registration script. We'll go ahead and delete this account here. We'll start again. So Billy, password, Billy, Garrett, Billy at phpacademy.org. Click register. You've been registered successfully. Now that's all well and good, but now we're showing them the form. The user account's gone into here. We're still showing the form to the user. So what do we do in this case? Well, we could extend this else here and extend it beyond this part here. So I think we'll do that. So let's go ahead and get rid of that there. So we're going to say else all the way down here, and we will break. We won't bother breaking into PHP because we've already got a tag open here. We'll end that just there. And being a bit of a nitpicker, I'll just go ahead and indent that as well so it's aligned up with the rest of our code here. So let's just run through the flow of this for anyone that hasn't understood. Essentially what we're doing is when we run through this, we're validating as we've already discussed. We're then checking if this success variable is at the end of the URL. If it is, we just echo you've been registered successfully. If it isn't, we check for posted data, we check for errors, and then we also show the form. Okay, so we output any errors or we register the user and redirect them. In this case, this line will be executed. Okay, so it's not hard, but it might take a while for you looking at it to understand the flow of how this is working. So let's go ahead and delete this user again, and let's go ahead and in fact we can just force this success. You see now I've just put a question mark on there with a success. However, normally without that we get the form. We can then go and just register the user again for the third time, and oops, that's my first name, Billy Garrett, and the email address. Register, you've been registered successfully, done. Now the benefit of doing this is now when I press F5 I can't actually refresh that form submission. Otherwise, I mean in this case it would check and it would know that the user already exists, but in this case it might run the query, in other cases, sorry, it might run the query over and over again, and that's not what we want. So now that the user is in here, we can go ahead and we just edit this to 1, click go, over to our site, log in, Billy, and password, click login, hello Billy. There we go, and we currently have 2 registered users now because 2 of them are set to active. So now you can start to see, if I log out and I log in as me, you can start to see the flexibility of this now that we're able to now create users, log in and everything like that. So that's essentially it for actually registering the user. We've taken validation into account, we've taken security into account by looping over this array using array walk, and we've actually registered the users, redirecting them to a success page, otherwise outputting any errors and all of that stuff. So yeah, we've now registered a user.